Just putting it up on here. I should lower this a little bit. Okay. Right. I gotta remember to turn that volume down. It's so crazy. Okay, so it looks like we are up and running. And I noticed for my last live, I thought the headphones made the sound better, but I don't think it did. I think it made it worse. Or it sounded a little muffled to me. Okay, is that better? Okay. So I'm going to try not using the headphones this time, and you all can let me know what sound quality sounds better. So right now I'm using my iPhone because that's what I'm also doing my live on. So anywho, welcome to my channel. My name is Taishima McRae, but on this channel I'm known as Shades of Sage. I am a doula and mom of 4, and I'm currently breastfeeding my 4th child. I am exclusively breastfeeding him, and I exclusively breastfed all my children. And I'm also a breastfeeding peer counselor in addition to being a doula. So I do a lot of breastfeeding education, a lot of breastfeeding support, and that's one of my main goals with this channel, is to normalize breastfeeding, because even though it's 2022, breastfeeding is still not that much of a normal or comfortable subject for certain people. So I'm just trying to put out the right breastfeeding information and encouragement and support to other breastfeeding moms, women who are pregnant who may be thinking about breastfeeding, and women who have not had children yet, but plan on it in the future and plan on breastfeeding. So this is that channel for you, and hopefully you like my content. It's a motherhood channel, so I talk about my motherhood journey. I talk about what a doula is, what we do for our pregnant moms, during pregnancy and postpartum and all of that. So that's what this channel is about. But today, or this week actually, starts the first day of Black Breastfeeding Week. And now, before this year, I did not even know that Black Breastfeeding Week existed. And I talk about breastfeeding on this channel all the time. So I'm just super excited to actually be a part of it this year. So from today until the end of the month is Black Breastfeeding Week, which is really special also to me, because we don't see that much representation for Black breastfeeding moms. Like even now, if you Google or if you just do a quick search on YouTube and type in breastfeeding, you don't see a lot of Black moms, representing breastfeeding. So I'm really passionate about breastfeeding, but I'm also really passionate about encouraging other Black moms and other moms of color to breastfeed. We actually have we do have the lowest rate of breastfeeding as a Black mom. And so I want to break that. I want to help Black moms feel supported on their breastfeeding journey and get more moms breastfeeding for as long as they can. So this week, for me celebrating Black Breastfeeding Week, which is actually the 10th annual Black Breastfeeding Week, I'm trying to go live every single day. I'm trying to hold myself to that. So today is day number 1, and we're going to be talking about thrush. So I have had this topic on my list of YouTube ideas for a while. I just haven't gotten around to actually making a video about it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you see me look to the side, it's because my laptop's here. Sometimes it's easier to read the comments off of my laptop than my phone, because they'll show up and then disappear. So that's what I'm looking at. Just, if you see me look to the side. I did write down some notes just so I can keep my thoughts together, because sometimes I'm just thinking about a billion things at once. But I wanted to talk about thrush because, a lot of times, we see breastfeeding and we just see these perfect, pictures on Instagram or Facebook or whatever of moms and babies breastfeeding. And yes, breastfeeding is beautiful. And yes, I support breastfeeding. But there are some issues you can run into with breastfeeding, and thrush is one of them. Is one of them that I have personally experienced. So I just want to talk a little bit about my experience with thrush, what it is, how to treat it, and what kind of the signs are that you may have thrush, and how you can troubleshoot that if you feel like you also have thrush. Now, thrush is a yeast infection actually of the mouth, and It sounds really gross. And there are a couple of ways that, you know, you can get thrush. Now, I had thrush with my first. So she was a 33 weeker, so I had her really suddenly. I had severe and sudden preeclampsia, and I had to deliver immediately. So we went through all the avenues of trying to induce labor, but it really just was too early for me, and my body was not ready to deliver her. So after like 2 days of trying to deliver her, it did end up in an emergency C-section. So long story short, she stayed in the NICU for about 7 weeks, a really long time, and we both recovered from there. But I did pump while I was away from her, and when I was in person, when she was actually able to feed by the mouth, we breastfed. So I do remember, so yeah, while she was like too small and, you know, still recovering from birth and everything, while I pumped, they gave her my pumped milk. And then when she was able to eat, you know, from the breast, she still was really small because she was only 2 pounds and 11 ounces when she was born. So she was like really, really, really small baby. And because I was in labor, or, you know, trying to be induced for so long, and then also afterwards I had more complications with preeclampsia, I was on antibiotics for a really long time. And that is one of the that's one of the things that they say can lead to thrush, is like being on antibiotics. So I was on that for probably like 3 days, I want to say, throughout the whole entire ordeal, like trying to induce, and then also and also afterward, because I was also on magnesium. So with a lot of antibiotics, you know, pumping through my body and pumping through her body. So I think that's what contributed to us having thrush. Now, I really didn't even know that I had thrush. Breastfeeding was fine. Like I said, I would pump. And when I breastfed her in person, like, it was my first time breastfeeding, so I really didn't know that much to what, you know, to expect, or what breastfeeding felt like and anything like that. And it wasn't super, super painful, but I did notice, like, after a while, it started to sting a little bit, like when she would get on to nurse. And I was like, I wonder. And actually my nipples did turn like a little reddish color, but I just thought, you know, all of that was normal. You know, it's my first time breastfeeding. I didn't really know what to expect. And then one day I came in and they were giving her some medicine. So they were giving my daughter Saya some medicine. And I didn't know what it was, so I asked the nurse what it was when I came in, and she said, oh, this is nystatin for your daughter's thrush. And I'm like, thrush? She has thrush? What's that, you know? I kind of remembered a little bit because I feel like one of my siblings had it as a baby, but, you know, I was young at the time, so I feel like I knew the word, but I didn't really know what it was. So they was like, yeah, so we're treating her with this, and we're putting this on her tongues. All right, so thrush is characterized by like a white cottagey looking, so if it's in your mouth, it will look like white cottage cheese kind of on your tongue. And for me, it didn't, you know, look like white on me. It just looked like red, inflamed. It was a little painful. It stung a little bit, and it definitely was like itchy. So that's what it looks like on the baby's tongue. And then, like I said, because it's a yeast infection, you do need like some kind of antifungal drug to treat it. So she was getting a nystatin, and they were just like it was kind of like a yellowish, orangish kind of like liquid, like a runny liquid, and they would just put it like on I think a Q-tip, and rub it on her tongue. And they told me also to put it like on my nipples after I fed her, and so that way we can get rid of the thrush. Now, I didn't listen because I really didn't, I don't know, I'm not one of those people that's like into medicine, and I don't like, you know, putting things like topically on me if I feel like I don't need it. So I guess I didn't really see it as being a big deal. I was like, oh, they're treating her, so it'll be fine. So, you know, they treated her, and it kind of cleared up in her mouth a little bit. But then, like, a few days or a week or so later, she had it again. And the nurse was like, I don't understand why she still has it. You know, you're being treated, she's being treated. Why does she keep getting it? And I was like, I've not been putting it on. So from that point, I did put it on because what was happening was we were passing it back and forth to each other. So when she would heal from it, because it was still on me, it was still on my nipples, I would give it back to her. And I feel so bad about that because I should have just listened in the first place and used it at the same time when they first told me about it, when they were treating her for the first time. I did not do that. So long story short, it kind of took a while for us to get rid of thrush, probably like a month total, but that's because I wasn't treating myself at the same time. So if you're a breastfeeding mom and you develop thrush, or you think your baby has thrush, definitely when you're doing your treatments, get it done, do it at the same time. And so because she wasn't with me 24/7, when I would go home or when I fed her there at the hospital, I would put the nystatin on. But I just feel like it wasn't working that well for me. So, you know, I looked up a couple of things, and I think I read that, you know, because it is a yeast infection but in the mouth, you can also put that on your nipples as well. And I can't remember exactly what I used. It wasn't Vagisil. I know it wasn't that. I think it was just a generic antifungal cream. Like I told my mom about it, and she told me to get that. You know, by the way, she's a nurse, so you know, if I ever have any kind of issues, medical issues, I usually go to her first. So I think I just, you know, went to Walgreens or CVS and picked up, you know, an antifungal cream, and I applied that to my nipples when I wasn't like around her. So like when I would go home, I would apply that to my nipples, and that really cleared it up like right away. Like it took away, it took maybe a couple of days for me to feel relief because it was starting to hurt. You know, because I was passing it to her, she was passing it to me. It did hurt. It was like red. It was kind of inflamed, and it stung a little bit every time she nursed. So I would put the cream on at home while I wasn't around her, and then, you know, when I did go to feed her in the hospital, then I would use the nystatin. So I used both of them, but I feel like the cream worked the best and worked the most for me personally. So yeah, you can get it if you are taking antibiotics. You can get it. You also can get thrush if you're pregnant. Now, I did not experience that while I was pregnant. And like I said, the signs of thrush is like red sore nipples. The nipples in the areola will be like red. It will be maybe a little bit swollen a little bit, and it will be itchy. It definitely was itchy. And I'm like, you know, I just thought that was all normal. So it was not. So if you're experiencing that, you know, whether you're pregnant or whether you're postpartum and you're breastfeeding, it could mean you have thrush. And I want to mention that thrush, like sometimes babies when they're breastfeeding, and even if they're being formula fed, they will have a white tongue, you know, after they eat. And sometimes it stays white, but thrush will look like raised whiteness. Like you'll be able to tell the difference. If you're like curious or, you know, concerned about your baby having thrush, you can always take, you know, like a wet rag and rub their tongue. Now if it goes away, then obviously it was just leftover milk residue or formula residue, and you're fine. But if you're rubbing their tongue, and try to be as gentle as you can, because if they do have thrush, it does hurt for them too. But if you're rubbing your tongue with a rag and you notice that it's not moving, it's not budging, then they could have thrush. And, you know, you can, I'm not sure if you can buy nystatin in stores. I'm not sure. I meant to look that up to see. But that was like one of the things they prescribed, say, to get rid of it. So I'm not sure if it's one of those things where you have to go to your pediatrician and get help. But yes, if you do have it, or if your baby does have it, make sure you're being treated at the same time if you're feeding from the breast. And I would say even if you're a pumping mom and you're like exclusively pumping, or your baby is being bottle fed, make sure you're still treating that area also as well, because it will pass through you know, to the breast milk. And then again, like I said, you'll just be passing it back and forth to each other, and you do not want that. So I think the name for the antifungal cream, I'm going to try to say this, but I've never seen this word before, is clotrimazole. Clotrimazole. So I don't know if I said that right, but that's probably like the generic term of what you're looking for if you go to the store and try to buy this cream, you know, over the counter yourself, which you definitely can do. And I'm not sure, I think Vagisil may just be specifically, you know, for, you know, the down there area. So I don't recommend putting Vagisil on your nipples, on your breast. But if you get this cream, just a regular basic antifungal cream, you should be okay. And if you're worried about it, I can't remember if I washed it off. I want to say it just soaked in, and by the time I got to the hospital, like, I would put it on at nighttime, and then by the time I got to the hospital, I would feed her. So I don't think it was a problem, as in like it can't be ingested or something like that, or I might have gotten one that was specifically for thrush from the store. Like I said, I can't remember what the brand was that I used, but I know it worked. Within a few days, I felt relief, and within a week or two, I want to say 2 whole weeks, it was cleared up. So yeah, you can get, you know, over-the-counter antifungal cream to treat yourself. And then for your baby, you want to make sure that whatever you do get to clear up the thrush is antifungal, but that is also safe to be, you know, ingested by the mouth. So let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about on here. So that is just one thing that I ran into with breastfeeding. It probably was like the most I would say one of the most painful things, because I do have another story that I want to talk about as far as like breastfeeding, things that can like affect your breastfeeding journey that can be painful for you or painful for your baby if you're breastfeeding. But I do have some more topics on here that I'm trying to you know, go over for this week. But if you're watching this video and or if you watch my previous videos and you have questions about breastfeeding, or there's some topics that you want to see me go over this week for Black Breastfeeding Week, but it's actually National Breastfeeding Month. So this whole entire month, you know, we've been celebrating breastfeeding and, you know, just getting that information out there. So if there's something that maybe you haven't seen on this channel that you want to see, that you have questions about as far as breastfeeding, like tandem breastfeeding or relactation, anything like that, you can leave that in the comments of this video, and I can definitely add that to the list. I might have to combine a couple of topics here, but I have some really good ones. And then also, if I've done a video and maybe something wasn't clear, or if you have questions about maybe something I said, or questions about one of the videos that I have done that you have already seen, then definitely leave that down below too as well. I think I got one topic I got from when I did my community post, and that was weaning, what to expect for mom and baby. So I do have a couple of weaning videos on this channel, but I do want to do a live on that, because that's a really important topic, because, you know, everyone says breastfeed is best for you, is best for the baby and everything like that, but they never tell you how to stop breastfeeding. And that is so important, because you need to know what to do when you're ready to stop breastfeeding, or when your baby's ready to stop breastfeeding, or whatever. And I definitely don't recommend going cold turkey. I know some people do that, but I definitely do not recommend that. You will be in so much pain, especially depending on where you are in your breastfeeding journey. So yes, I think that's all I have for tonight. Just wanted to touch a little bit on thrush. I think I explained everything about thrush. So like I said, on your baby, it's going to appear as white cottage cheese kind of look on their tongue. And maybe even the size of the mouth sometimes. And then for you as a breastfeeding mom, it's going to look like red, sore, inflamed nipples. And it can be itchy and painful when you're breastfeeding. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you for all who are watching and who joined. And like I said, get those topics in if you want to see anything. So just leave that down in the comments below here, or you can add it to that community post if you happen to see it. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. All right. Bye. Good night.